Hi, this is Charles, bass player for Final Gravity, and this is my playlist for the week of March 9th to March 15th, 2026. The first album I listened to last week was Nick Johnston's album Atomic Mind from 2014. With Brian Beller on bass and Marco Miniman on drums, this is 2/3 of the band The Aristocrats right off the bat. And when Guthrie Govan appears on track number 4, called Silver Tongued Devil, it is in fact The Aristocrats for a brief moment. But this is Nick Johnston's album, so who is he and what is he bringing to the table? Nick Johnston has several solo albums that came out in the 2000s. He has his own signature Schecter guitar. Actually, I believe he's had more than one. And he is pretty well known in the guitar community for being a very versatile, talented guitarist. Recently, he joined the band Mastodon, so now more people are familiar with him than ever. So what is this album all about? On tap on this Nick Johnston album, you will find his typical genre hopping between rock, jazz, blues, and even a little surf music thrown in. It's often done with a wink and a nod, and his playing is tasteful but still face-melting. Not sure how he pulls that off, but he does. There's at least 50% more acoustic guitar than you'd hear on a typical Joe Satriani record, too. This album is enjoyable for both musos and non-guitarists alike. The next record I listened to last week was the new album by Soen called Reliance from this year, 2026. A little bit of history. Soen was formed by the drummer from Opeth and various other very talented musicians from Germany. They have multiple albums out and have been around for a long time, so this is their latest record. Everything is well recorded, but I guess what I'm saying is the mix is bad. Everything sounds artificial and airless and fake, like it was so sterile it was recorded in a clean room. The band are also sanding off all the sharp edges of their sound. Before, they were sort of an idiosyncratic blend of Tool and Opeth, but you would be hard-pressed to find either one of those references on this album. They seem to be leaning a little more into formula in their songwriting as well. And that's a real downer because it's clear they're capable of so much more. There are some moments, though, like the heavy as hell but frustratingly brief gent breakdown in Discordia, or the exploratory middle section of Axis, or the locked-in bass, guitar, drums, rapid-fire triplets in Huntress. Those moments, it seems that they're going to break out of the shell that they've built for themselves. But it's fleeting. Much like Catatonia, they've moved far enough away from their roots that they're almost a different band now. If this is the first thing you heard by Soen, you wouldn't understand why I love their early albums so much. The third album from last week was KK's Priest, Sermons of the Sinner from 2021. KK Downing was one of the founding members of Judas Priest, and for reasons that I'm not going to get into here, he is no longer in the band. He decided to form his own band, and I guess his attempt was to out-priest Judas Priest. With pounding double bass drums and soaring double-tracked 2-octave vocals, he's planting his flag firmly on Painkiller territory. Also on board is former Judas Priest vocalist Tim Ripper Owens, who doesn't exactly do an impression of Rob Halford, but he tries hard to sound like him. There is dedicated, impressive support from the bassist, who is also the producer, Tony Newton, drummer Sean Elg, and second guitarist, AJ Mills. The lyrics are very typical Judas Priest-type subjects. Brothers of the Road threatens to channel You've Got Another Thing Coming in the verse riffs. And then, of course, there's the closing track, Return of the Sentinel, which literally uses some of the guitar riffs from the Judas Priest song, The Sentinel. This band is not interested in originality or exploring any of the corners of Judas Priest's discography other than the most recent straight-ahead, pummeling freight train stuff. If you like Priest, you should like this. Unless it's a little too Priest, if you know what I mean. The last album I listened to last week was George Lynch's 2015 release, Shadow Train. This album features vocalist Gregory, hope I say this right, Analla, who has also performed with Warlord and Slavier, which are two bands that were put together by ex-Fates Warning drummer Mark Zonder. He also sang in well-known metal producer Roy Z's band, Tribe of Gypsies. And he sounds like all the best parts of a cross between Jeff Tate when he's not pushing and Bruce Dickinson when he is. The songs are mostly riff-based hard rock, with one foot in Zeppelin. And surprisingly, for an album with George Lynch's name on it, his soloing is not as frequent or as memorable as you would think. Thematically, this album is primarily about the mistreatment of Native Americans by Europeans. It is apparently a soundtrack to a documentary that is about the same subject. Quick take, this is a double CD length album. It is very long, and there are many, many tracks that could have been left off to make a powerful single disc release. My favorite track is Under a Crooked Sky. It reminds me a little bit of the vibe at the beginning of Led Zeppelin's In the Evening, and its unresolving vocal melody is really the hook that sticks in my brain. Another track, Now It's Dark, also channels a little bit of Zepp, with the guitar chords echoing Kashmir. Overall, there is a lot of music here. Again, if you wanted to make a really good 35 to 40 minute record out of the wealth of material here, you could do that. As it is, it's just too much, man. Anyway, that's everything I listened to last week. We'd love to know what you listened to. Drop us a comment. Please follow us. Throw the video a like if you found it useful or entertaining in any way. And we'll see y'all next week. And here is the t-shirt of the week.